I think my practice always focus a lot on woodworks. I think wood is a very easy access materials. It's very easy to cut, very easy to modify, assemble as well. But I actually focus, and I really like the textures on, and focus more on like industrial wood, but not like as a traditional way of fabricating the wood. I actually mix a lot of different materials like acrylics or light or sound together with woodworks. I think particularly shows because we use a lot of different symbol from Chinese temple. So I personally think that the wood is actually also a very common materials, in the Chinese ritual or Chinese temples, as in the architectures or in the statues.
So pigeons and humans have coexisted for the last 12,000 years. We used to eat them, we use them as messengers. At one point we used to even respect them as gods, because pigeons and doves are literally the same bird, just in different colors, to the point where like now pigeons can't live without humans. They live in our balconies because it resembles their natural habitat, which is rocks and cliffs. Even in Hollywood, right, you can't depict the city without depicting pigeons as well. There's like a team of people who specially train pigeons in Hollywood. So I think that's why pigeons make a very strong metaphor, human existence and just city living, human living.
When we look at all these ceremonies or rituals, it's not only about like temple or something that there has a lot of human activities involved in it. So it also involves like music. Of course, not the music that we play all the while, like the music for the ceremony, and then the lights for the ritual, for the tables. I think that all these things, which is very interesting, which in this show I use, even the light bulbs is actually from the ceremony instruments as well. And I found it is very interesting to discover about the Chinese ritual, or which is actually I kind of explore how the belief started. I mean, compare with others main religions, which is I found it that it can be in different kind of form, and then all these forms is not only about religions but also influence a lot from folklore and from different places or cultural influences as well.
I think living in Australia was what really pushed my artistic practice to take a very different direction. I think it was a lot of time alone, plus COVID, plus doing a lot of things for the first time, like buying a subway myself for the first time, buying a bus ticket, getting a SIM card, and navigating everything alone down to the very tiniest details. So I think those few years really pushed me to consider ideas of home, what I miss from back then, what I like right now, and what are things that I can recreate in this space, which was my dorm room, to make it feel more like home. In fact, that's why the first show I did as soon as I came back to Malaysia was called Dorm Room Self-Portrait. So I think that consciously or not, those few years definitely pushed me to consider these ideas already. And so when the pigeon motif came around, I think everything just fit very nicely together.
Most of the materials I bought from the Chinese store that they're selling a lot of ritual or praying stuff. And actually I also visited paper makers. This kind of visual or this kind of forms, so it actually get inspired from both the Chinese temple architectures and also the paper makers as well. It's actually very interesting that they are using a very practical way. I'm not sure whether practical is a good word, but like when you need some things or you provide offering to the gods, so to get something that you want, which is a very direct relationship. So I think to discover all these forms is actually also at the same time borrowing the form and you know, the visuals from all these things. It's actually, as an artist, it provides me a lot of freedoms to play around, and I actually also treat it like, you know, as a partner or as a son, also showing that my belief on my families, on partner, on you know, as an artist, on making art. I always think that making art is a belief.
While I run these interviews, these responses are often very vulnerable and very personal. And I think that that's why I didn't want to print them out in big letters or write them on walls or on the floor or whatever. I think I wanted something a bit more quiet. On one hand, it's definitely to respect the privacy of the people that I spoke to. And I think on the other hand, it is also a way of injecting myself into the art, in the debossed writings, because it's a technique that physically hurts me. My wrist hurts, my elbow heats up, and you can see where my line starts slipping. You can see where my hands get tired. In a way, this process becomes even more personal and even more human. And also, while it's so quiet and invisible, viewers have to actually step up close, have to shine a light to discover it for themselves. I think it reminds viewers that, you know, this is not something that is super separated from them. It reminds them that they are also a part of this narrative, which is being human and finding spaces of belonging.
The Natukongs is a very unique cultural forms. I would say that, particularly in Malaysia, it's a kind of like a mixture of, because of the multiracial background, it's kind of like developing into something that really unique and belongs to Malaysia. And as I say that, researching the Natukongs or referring to Natukong, I found that it really very rich and it can be in different kind of form, even those in different states in Malaysia. So started from that, I kind of like also interested on Taoism as well, which I started this kind of explorations since I think 2013. I mean, as an artist, I always looking for, you know, like to kind of like borrowing or kind of like imitate some existing form and then turn it into a contemporary interpretations as an artist.
The birdcage was inspired from when I ran homing in Melbourne this March, actually. I ran the interview literally on top of someone else's installation. There was this giant room that was covered in rainbow. I just moved the tables and chairs on top of their installation and ran it there. When this entire surrounding is deliberately crafted, I think it brings about a sense of novelty to the people interviewed, and it also brings about a different kind of vulnerability. And so I wanted to recreate that kind of immersive interview setting within Wei-Ling Gallery, which is why I was working with a contractor to create this statue made out of timber. I just wanted to create something that was intentional and immersive while keeping the essence of the gallery, something that I can't find again if I ran the project somewhere else.
All these kind of like ritual things for me is also very new and also very experimental as well. Like they are really into a very contemporary community, like what we need now, and then they will create something else. So I love discovering different materials and how it mix up, and then how those the language of the materials and deliver my works. Yeah.
As time went by, as I did interview after interview after interview, I realized that there was a pattern in where people point on the page. And I think that this pattern is reflective of their individual characters. I've actually divided these people into categories. There is a pattern, and I think it's very, very interesting. I think that when you point on the page, it's not just, oh, where do I want my pigeon to be? But because when you point, you can already see where other people have pointed. So the question becomes like, where do I want to be in relation to others?
So I really love that, you know, audience will come, and then we'll have more exchange, which is this kind of themes is everyone have that. I mean, this kind of themes also works very well with Ryan's exhibition as well. So yeah, please come and share with us your experience and ideas. Yeah.
Come see the work, come receive an interview. Especially, like I said before, right, when you're viewing especially the debossed writing, understand that this isn't just a work of art that was created for the sake of beauty. Understand that these were real people sharing real stories that are probably not so different from yours.